Hello, music fans. You're watching Death by Unicorn, where we talk about metal, rock, and prog music. And this is New Music Picks 2026. I'm going to talk about 5 new music releases that came out on July 17th, 2026, and give my quick first impressions of them. And I'll talk about them in my order of preference. Starting with Protest the Hero and their album Within. This is the 6th album by this Canadian band. It's progressive metalcore with post-hardcore, mathcore, punk rock, melodic hardcore influences all in there. And this one, I'm giving my masterpiece tier rating. This is a band that I just love. They're one of my favorite bands. I previously called Protest the Hero my favorite band for a while, but they haven't put out as much music as some others who might have surpassed them now for me, like Between the Buried and Me, Dream Theater, and Haken. But Protest the Hero is definitely my top 5 anyway. And I think all their albums are masterpieces. The early single Mouthpiece from this one is amazing, as always from them. So I expected this to be a strong contender for Album of the Year for me going into listening to this. And I know it has some tough competition this year because it's been a pretty solid year. And after listening, I do have to say, so far, this is my album of the year right now at this point in time, but it is pretty close between The Moth by Devin Townsend, uh, between this and The Moth. And I'm optimistic that there's hopefully going to be a second part to this album called Without, as some folks on the internet have been predicting, especially given that this album is only 35 minutes long. And while it does have 8 tracks, it's only really 6 proper tracks and 2 kind of interludes that have more orchestral moments. So I'm betting they wrote 12 full proper tracks in the 4 interludes, and maybe they thought it was too long, and when they added all the interludes to put on one album, so they decided to break it into 2. Now I wonder what the second part will sound like. I wonder if it'll be darker sounding, because I did find that a lot of the tracks on Within sound brighter sonically and use a lot more major chords than Protest the Hero usually uses, even though they're still typically lyric wise, they're still kind of negative and cynical uh, and kind of political, like Protest the Hero gets. The second track, Fishhook in particular, showcases that sonic brightness, but also has lyrics that express frustration about conversations the narrator has with their geriatric neighbor who's always so negative, cynical, and expressing disdain for the younger generation, calling them lazy, things like that. The Orchard features a part with vocals from Jada Kelly, who has guested on many Protest the Hero albums. She was the voice of Keziah on their debut album. So it's great to hear her collaborate with them again, like she often has throughout their career. Her voice sounds a bit different here to me than back on Keziah, but she does a great job. And Rhodey does a great job on vocals overall as well. His clean singing is powerful. His harsh vocals sound great here. I know the last couple times I saw them live, he didn't do harsh vocals live, and they played them from backing tracks because he had vocal problems and issues. So I'm not sure if he'll continue to play the harsh vocals from backing tracks to save his vocals live. It is kind of unfortunate and a bit disappointing to see that when he does that, but I do understand that it is important that he doesn't injure his vocal cords again, since that is his livelihood. But the guitar riffs here are awesome as always. My favorite track currently is the closing track, The Mariner. My cousin Sean also told me he noticed lots of nods to many of their past songs throughout the album, like hidden as Easter eggs. So I have to listen more and find all of those. Um, I haven't really found them, but he mentioned the Canary, lyrical nod to a really old track of theirs called Led Astray, and that on The Mariner, there are lyrical cameos from Migrant Mother and From the Sky. So I still have to find all those myself, but that is what my cousin mentioned to me. And yeah, looking forward to. I always like it when bands kind of bring back cool repeated themes and references to their past catalog, if done well. So I haven't fully analyzed all the lyrics, but musically, I love this album. Masterpiece tier album, as usual, from Protest the Hero. really hard to say where this ranks in their amazing catalog, because it's just hard to live up to some of their early albums that I have such a nostalgia for. But I like how they have some of their heaviest moments here on this album, going towards almost between the Bury Me level of heaviness, but also some of their lightest, quietest, softest, and most beautiful moments in the use of acoustic guitar, playing chords reminiscent of Alex Lifeson of Rush. So if you like the sounds of that, check out Within by Protest the Hero, a masterpiece tier album. Next, I want to mention an EP by Haken called In a Fever Dream. This is progressive metal by this band from the UK, and I'm putting this one in my near masterpiece tier. And it's another band I love. I love Haken. The digital release of this came July 17th, but the CD and vinyl editions aren't available until September 18th. I would maybe like to pick up a CD or vinyl of this. I've already ordered my copy of Within by Protest the Hero. Now, Haken's down a couple members from their last release, Charlie Griffiths on guitar, Connor Green on bass, but they still sounded amazing on the singles here. And really, I think they've just done it again. While this is probably the weakest Haken release, they don't really have any weak releases. And I was a bit disappointed when I found out it was an EP, and especially since they released 3 tracks ahead of the album release. And when there's only 5 tracks on the CD, that kind of makes it like you don't really get much new stuff when you put on the EP that you haven't heard if you listen to the singles ahead of time. So it was a mild disappointment when I found out it was an EP. And of course, I was also kind of mildly disappointed when I found out Charlie and Connor were no longer in the band. But I think they sound really great here. As always, even the weakest Haken album or EP is better than most bands' best. And I really like probably my favorite would be the opening track, In a Fever Dream, which I really like. And I like the closing track, Loathe, which kind of talks about like out of a fever dream, and it kind of completes it's like this EP is just a quick fever dream. It kind of makes it feel like a cohesive journey. I actually enjoyed Delirium. Heard some people online saying maybe they don't like it as much. I think Rhyme Signatures mentioned it, and maybe some others in comments. And I actually like it. I think the chorus is great. I think it's catchy, and I think the riff's good. It might be like a little more like alt metal Haken, but I think they do a good job here. I wouldn't want their whole sound, like a whole album of songs like this, but I think if they had like one song like this on each album that just has that catchy chorus and that could be like their radio single, I think it's cool. Bleeding Skies, awesome, like great vocal harmonies near the end of the song, which I really liked. Probably the weakest track on here for me would be Eclipsed by You, which is the shortest track, but it's still pretty cool. Like, I think it's a 7 beat per bar thing, and really enjoyed the whole album. I think not a weak moment on here. Obviously, Haken has a really high bar, and it's hard for a short 5-track EP to kind of be on the same level as something like Aquarius, their debut album, or The Mountain, those types of epic masterpieces. So I'm calling this a near masterpiece rather than a masterpiece. I think if they had a whole album of this quality, it would be a masterpiece, but I'd love to see them bring in more variety if they do a full album and not just stick to this sound that they have here on this EP. Would love to see them have some guitar solos, for example. There's a lack of guitar solos here. That's kind of something that's missing. And some more of the like quirkiness, things like the Gentle Giant style vocals are not here, and like the circus music that they had on Aquarius, which I find enjoyable. And having like an epic would be great. So hopefully on their next album, it's cool if they have some tracks that go in this direction, but would love to have an epic, some crazy vocal counterpoint, and crazy guitar solos and circus stuff and fun, quirky things. Hopefully they can kind of mix this modern, sleek, streamlined production with those fun things that they did in the past on their next full-length album, and really looking forward to hearing what they do next. If that sounds good to you, check out In a Fever Dream EP by Haken. And next I want to mention Psycroptic and their album The Pulse of Annihilation, the 9th album by this Australian technical death metal band. And I'm putting this one in my very good tier. Just like their 2022 album Divine Council, I thought that was very good as well, so I was excited to hear this. And really, it's technical death metal. It's very technical, great riffs. It's actually pretty groovy. Like some moments almost weren't as fast as you'd expect from like technical death metal. We're kind of more of a mid-tempo groover, like something like a Lamb of God might sound like. But a lot of it's it's tech death. It's a no-brainer to check out if you like technical death metal. If you're a fan of bands like Gorod, Archspire, and Obscura, then check out Psycroptic and their album The Pulse of Annihilation. Next, I want to mention Motionless in White and their album Decades, the 7th album by this American metalcore band. They have gothic, industrial, alternative pop, and new metal influences. And I'm just putting this one in my good tier. I like the singles I heard ahead of this album, Afraid of the Dark and Playing God, the latter of which features Corey Taylor from Slipknot. And I thought Motionless in White's 2022 album was good, but it's not something I go back to much. Not exactly my style of metalcore, but I do respect their talent. This new album from them is more the same as their last one that I recall. Some good heavy breakdowns, catchy poppy choruses, mixing that electronic and pop influence in with their metalcore. And yeah, it's well done. Nothing special though. Sometimes the lyrics can have this cringy tough guy vibe to them, and the vocal melodies on the chorus sometimes almost sound like they're AI generated catchy melodies with no uniqueness to them. But I still think it's a good tier album. I was hoping for more. Probably won't go back to it much, but if you like metalcore with this gothic industrial alternative pop and new metal vibe to it, then check out Decades by Motionless in White. And last, I want to mention Loathe and their album A Stranger to You, the 3rd album by this band from the UK. This one's kind of in between metalcore and alternative metal, a little bit of progressive gent vibes from time to time, post-metal, ambient, shoegaze, electronic, all mixed in, kind of a weird blend. And I'm putting this in my good tier. This band's from the UK, I believe, Loathe. I like the single that I heard, excuse me, Revenant. So I was excited to check this one out, but unfortunately, I don't think the rest of the album quite lived up to that single. It's one of those kind of goes poppy like Motionless in White, kind of more accessible metalcore, alternative metal. It's got some electronic and hip hop and soul influence in there too, which is a style that can be very hit or miss for me. Still a good album. I can tell they have talent, but musically it was a miss for my taste. But I'm still going to give it good tier because I considered putting it in my average tier, but it's just above that. I was on the border of giving it average tier, but I kind of like some of what they're doing here. So good tier album, A Stranger to You by Loathe. That's it for my first impressions of these 5 new releases that came out on July 17th. What do you think of these albums? Let me know down in the comments. And did anything else come out recently that you think I might enjoy? Also let me know. And if you like metal, rock, and prog music, you're in the right place. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, so you can stay in the loop on when I post new videos. My next video in this series, I'll be giving my first impressions of new music from Willow and North Sea Echoes, and maybe some others. So let me know if anything else is coming out soon that you think I might like. And stay tuned. Peace out.